connecting, and it's Kyle Payne who comes off the worst for the incident. Mounsey still holds the lead. It's Luca Hopkins now who's been promoted to second. Harrison Crosby's fight with Jamie Woodcock is now for third. Mounsey only narrowly ahead of Kyle Payne. And likewise Harrison Crosby, who had dropped back a little bit from the three in front of him. Well, there are only two now in front, and Harrison Crosby senses an opportunity. Remember that Crosby came into this weekend as the championship leader, still is the championship leader, but that margin has been eaten into over the course of this weekend by Luca Hopkins and Jamie Woodcock, his main rivals. Well, Woodcock is behind at the moment, as we have a new race-leading duo and a new fight up front. Sullivan Mounsey now versus Luca Hopkins over top spot. Side by side as well for third position. Harrison Crosby holding that place. Jamie Woodcock trying to find a way through. Top two together, third and fourth together. And now we've got a group further back down the order as well together. Harrison Desoy in sixth place with Alfie Davidson and Orlando Phillips right there as well. Crosby seems to have made up a bit of ground on this lap versus Luca Hopkins. Almost close enough to strike coming through Devil's Elbow. Top four are all bunching up once again. So it's Mounsey who leads, Hopkins in second, Harrison Crosby in third, and Jamie Woodcock in fourth, all separated by 0.8 of a second. Orlando Phillips in that group further back down the order that I was talking about has dispatched Harrison Desoy and Alfie Davidson, so he goes off now in pursuit of James Rose, but he's 2 seconds back in sixth position. Ethan Sparks occupying ninth and Clayton Edmonds rounding out the top 10. But it's Mounsey who leads, half a second clear of Hopkins in second. Close race going on among the top four. James Rose Jr. setting a new personal best on the last lap around, lap number 4, a 58.7. We're at the half race distance now, but he sits 3 seconds back from the top four. And I would suggest that these top four will be the top four at the checkered flag, but what order will they finish in? At the moment, it's Luca Hopkins who looks under the most pressure. In the early part of the race, he was the rider with the pace. But now it's Harrison Crosby coming back at him. Orlando Phillips further back down the order, gaining on James Rose. It's now 1.5 seconds between the two of them. Ronald Harris making a good move there for 10th position. So joining the top 10 fight with a new personal best lap and an overtaking manoeuvre through the final sequence of turns as the leaders come upon lap traffic and then go 3 abreast into the carousel. Hopkins still holding on. Crosby's trying to go all the way around the outside. It was an opportunistic move for Crosby, but he didn't quite manage to get there. Sullivan Mounsey still leads. Luca Hopkins in second. Harrison Crosby in third. The top four, if anything, even closer than they were last lap around. Crosby is still in the mix with Luca Hopkins, but eventually he finds himself offline and has to back out of it. Hopkins holding on valiantly to this second position, but he doesn't seem to have an answer to Sullivan Mounsey. And Harrison Crosby would quite like to get the better of Luca Hopkins. His closest championship rival is directly ahead of him. Still, third position would be a good result in the context of the season overall, because he would only lose 4 points more to Luca Hopkins. It's been damage limitation all weekend for Harrison Crosby, who hasn't quite had the pace on this track in particular, but he only dropped 2 points to Luca Hopkins last time out, and he's only going to drop 4 to Hopkins in this one if things stay as they are, which can't be taken as a given because Jamie Woodcock is trying to get the better of Harrison Crosby. Woodcock's had a quiet couple of laps, but he's coming back at them. 0.7 of a second separated the top four at the end of the last lap. They're coming across another of the lapped runners, and just at the wrong moment through the technical twisty stuff at Devil's Elbow. That's held up Sullivan Mounsey briefly. It's going to hold up Jamie Woodcock a little bit more. In fact, they're swerving left and right now as they go into the final lap because Luca Hopkins got forced a little bit offline and Harrison Crosby is trying to take advantage, and Jamie Woodcock is faster than Crosby up the main straight as well. Crosby holds on though for third position. Woodcock back down to fourth. Crosby has dropped back from the top two. Sullivan Mounsey half a second clear of Luca Hopkins in second place. Mounsey goes defensive. Hopkins faster. coming in towards the carousel, but Mounsey holds the inside line well. This is great riding from all of the top 4 riders, to be truthful, but in particular from Sullivan Mounsey, who's never had more than a half a second lead and has managed to hold on to it throughout this race, despite the challenge of working his way first through the lapped runners. Harrison Crosby holding on to a 3rd position that will see him drop 4 points in the championship overall to Luca Hopkins, but he'll remain the leader going into the final round. Sullivan Mounsey comes over the line to take the checkered flag, very close in the run down to the line for 3rd, less than a 1/10 of a second. Harrison Crosby manages to hold on in front of Jamie Woodcock, so it's Sullivan Mounsey who wins it, ahead of Luca Hopkins in 2nd, Harrison Crosby in 3rd, Jamie Woodcock doing a great job in 4th position. And as for the other battles that I was talking about further down the order, good effort from Ronald Harris to move into the top 10 behind Ethan Sparks, but he eventually comes up short in the battle for P9.
Thank you very much, Alex Raby, and another fantastic race. The 3rd and final race of the weekend here in Wales for the AC40 rookies. Up next, it's the Mini F1 sidecars. They're out on track next. Followed by that is the Mini GP50s. And then the Senior Mini Motos, Junior LC40s and Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team to end our day. So a big hello to everybody who is tuned in online at coolfabracing.com and on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page as well. You're listening to live radio coverage of Round 7 from Glanagors in Wales.
The original and best British championships for mini bikes. This is Cool Fab Racing.
Mini F1 sidecars heading out onto the grid at the moment to start their third and final race of the weekend. Is this going to be the race? As Alex Raby already knows what I'm going to ask and shakes his head as if to say no, no, no. But is this going to be the race, perhaps, where we won't have the ever dominant Williams on the top step of the podium? Who knows? Well, I suppose we'll know in a few minutes. Alex Raby has the grid.
Mick Williams then is starting as the favourite, as Lester has just highlighted. His number 26 outfit hasn't been defeated in 2017. It's been fairly close, actually, on a couple of occasions, both at this round and last time out at round number 6. But yes, so far it's still Mick Williams and that number 26 outfit undefeated. He was 0.8 of a second faster than anyone else in qualifying. Race number 1 was a success. Race 2 by less than 2 seconds, but another race victory. Already confirmed as champion in the Mini F1 sidecars. The number 26, Mick Williams, starting on pole position. The only question that remains is the fight for second in the series overall, and of course as to whether that number 26 will run the entire season without succumbing to a defeat. Alongside the number 26 here on the starting grid, it's the number 17, ridden by Danny Steiner. The main one to watch, the 25, starting directly behind Mick Williams, the outfit piloted by Paul Qualters. Now, they managed to get right in the mix last time out after overtaking the number 17, closing right up and setting the fastest lap of the race in pursuit of the race leaders. What can they do here from third on the grid? We are underway with race 3. Well, they haven't made a good start, and that's not going to help them. They've dropped down to 4th position into the first turn. It's the number 144, piloted by Mick Lee, that comes through for 3rd position. The 25, relegated to 4th, has now got to work its way back through. In fact, it's been a very, very strong start for that number 144, who, by the looks of it, has come through for 2nd position as well, getting the better of Danny Steiner on the number 17 machine, who drops to 3rd. Number 46, ridden by Simon Ibbotson, is back up and running after some misfortune last time out, but involved in the pack here. If we didn't have the number 26 racing this season, it would be extremely close in the Mini F1 sidecars, but Mick Williams has just been able to steer that outfit deftly to victory after victory. And at the end of lap number 1, already there is a 3-second margin between 1st and 2nd. Number 17, ridden by Danny Steiner, running very wide there on the first turn. Is that going to give Paul Qualters an opportunity to steer through? The answer is yes, around the outside on the Dragon Straight and around the outside at the right-hander, then able to get back across to the inside line for the spoon. So move made by the number 25 to come through for 3rd position. And now going off in pursuit of the 144, ridden by Mick Lee, just up ahead. The yellow liveried outfit holding P2 for the moment, 3 seconds back from the leader. Danny Steiner relegated provisionally off the podium down to 4th position. It's the number 25 outfit that's making the progress, now trying to get the better of the number 144. Mick Lee occupying 2nd place. So far so good. We've got a close fight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. The leaders are away and gone. So the answer to Leicester's pre-race question is no. It doesn't look as though Mick Williams is going to get beaten this weekend. So it'll be the 7th successive weekend where that number 26 outfit, piloted by Mick Williams, has been undefeated. Perhaps there's someone listening in on online on the FAB-Racing website, or indeed on the Facebook live stream, who fancies their chances of piloting a Mini F1 sidecar at the final round to try and get the better of Mick Williams. But otherwise, it's looking like a dominant season, undefeated. Very close still for 2nd position, as Paul Qualters has been held at bay by Mick Lee. So some smart piloting here from Mick Lee in that number 144 outfit to hold on to 2nd place. Second, third and fourth, still the most closely packed group, all separated by less than a second. Then Mark Parker holding on ahead of Adrian Ems further back in the battle for fifth and sixth positions. Another group actually further around, just watching them come through the final turn now. Simon Ibbotson, Paul Coulters Jr. and John Hosker for 7th, 8th and 9th, all separated by less than a second as well. No change for the lead, no change in the other three battles either. Not for the moment at least. Number 24 just making a line down the inside of Simon Ibbotson. Trying to come through for 7th position, but for the moment that move not on. Well, it's the number 26, familiar sight, coming through to lap the first of the lap runners. Does so coming off turn number 1, out of club corner. Had to back off to do it actually, almost got caught up there. Very similar pace being offered by Mick Lee, Paul Coulters and Danny Stainer as Adrian Ems makes the move successfully on Mark Parker to come through for P5. Doesn't look as though there's been any change in this battle further back for 7th position. Although Paul Coulters is as close as he's been all race. Simon Ibbotson runs very wide, Coulters can't capitalise. Still no change there. The lapped runners may present an opportunity, but not for the moment at least. Mick Lee still holding on to P2. In fact, if anything, through lap traffic, the number 144 outfit sped away somewhat from the number 25. Well, there was a 37-point gap between Danny Stainer and Paul Coulters in the championship coming into this weekend. Coulters made up ground in both races 1 and 2. 15 points already made up so far this weekend. The third and final race of the Mini F1 sidecars here at the penultimate round of the 2017 campaign. Still 7th, 8th and 9th running nose to tail through the twisty section. That's where these Mini F1 sidecars look most spectacular. It's hard work getting through there, and we've got a retirement out at the back by the looks of it. That's John Hosker, who just looked down at the machine and then it sort of slid to a halt on the exit of Paddock Bend. In fact, if they're stopped behind the line, then the smart thing to do would be to let the race lead across the line and then drag the outfit across the timing beam to take 9th, otherwise they're going to end up 10th. Is the number 26 of Mick Williams, who takes the checkered flag. Doesn't look as though John Hosker's getting that. Yes, indeed. There we go. John Hosker dragging the machine over the line, which should give them 9th position. There we go. Through for 9th. So my strategy proving correct. They've stopped before the line and then they've dragged it over to confirm 9th position. The remainder of the positions also settled there. Paul Coulters Sr. on that number 25 outfit, coming through in the dying seconds of this race to get the better of Mick Lee by just 0.3 of a second over the line. Danny Stainer then relegated to 4th, and that's a great result in the context of the championship for Paul Coulters, who was set to only make up 3 points on Danny Stainer in that race, but ends up grabbing another 4 on the final lap. And so that will send the race for 2nd and 3rd positions in the championship over to the final round, and those two outfits in very close proximity as well.
The original and best British Championships for mini bikes. This is Cool Fab Racing.
Riders for the next race heading out onto track, as you may be able to hear if you're listening to us live online. Next race is the Mini GP 50 category, and after this it's the Senior Mini Motos, Junior LC40s, Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team. We are running approximately 30 minutes ahead of schedule, if you're aware of the schedule that was published earlier in the week. As we wait for the start of this third and final race in the Mini GP 50 category coming up.
Number 3 then gets underway in the Mini GP 50 category. Bailey Stewart Campbell, not a particularly swift getaway, ends up dropping through the field in the early part of the race. It's Casey O'Gorman who breaks clear up front. Separate battle going on for second and third. Stewart Campbell's actually recovered that third position. So having started fourth, started slowly, looked as though he was going to drop to fifth, but has moved through now to third. Impressive start once again from Casey O'Gorman, series leader, confirmed champion in the Mini GP 50 category, but showing no signs of relenting on his rivals and looking set for another race win. Evan Belford finished second place last time out. They come through to complete lap number 1 then. Belford sitting in second place this time around, with Bailey Stewart Campbell third, Emmanuel Brinton dropping back into fourth position. Then a separate group further back where Corey Stainer occupies fifth. At the moment, Casey O'Gorman not showing up on the timing screens, but he is very much the early race leader and pulling clear of Evan Belford. Half a second the gap then to Bailey Stewart Campbell behind. Stewart Campbell looks under some pressure here from Emmanuel Brinton, and Corey Stainer is now under attack as well from Finn Smart. Looks as though Brinton is the rider on the move. Tried to move around the outside of Bailey Stewart Campbell to come through for third position. No opportunity to come through for now, at least. Lap number 2 completed for Casey O'Gorman out in front. Evan Belford in second position. Side by side now for third between Emmanuel Brinton and Bailey Stewart Campbell. It's a drag race up to the far end of the circuit. Who's got the inside line? The answer is that Brinton misses out. Bailey Stewart Campbell holds on. Corey Stainer versus Finn Smart further back. Smart looking to the outside, may have an opportunity to switch back. No such luck for the moment, at least. Corey Stainer holds on. Stainer did get the better of Finn Smart last time out, but by a more significant margin. Smart is putting in a good effort here in sixth position for the moment. Side by side further up the field. In fact, really close Emmanuel Brinton to getting all the way around the outside. That's the line that Emmanuel is choosing after the carousel, just going up to the outside, sticking it out all the way around with the hope of then having the inside coming into Devil's Elbow. It'll be a great move if he pulls it off, but for the moment at least he hasn't been able to do so. Race ongoing then for fifth position between Corey Stainer and Finn Smart. No doubt about the race leader, obviously not appearing on timing, so it's very difficult to tell the exact gap in terms of time, but it must be something around the 2-second mark between the top two. Evan Belford second then. Third with Bailey Stewart Campbell, although again that might not be for much longer if Emmanuel Brinton can find a way through. Brinton again, nose to tail, this time not close enough to try that outside sweep. And it's going to have to wait until later in the race by the looks of it for Emmanuel Brinton, unless Bailey Stewart-Campbell puts her foot wrong, which he hasn't shown any signs of doing so far. Good run from Finn Smart off Paddock Bend, but that straight just isn't quite long enough to get to grips with an overtaking manoeuvre before another right-hander into Club Corner. So we haven't really seen any overtaking manoeuvres coming off Paddock Bend so far this weekend. Unlikely that that's going to change in the closing races of this, the penultimate round of the season. Side by side now between Bailey Stewart-Campbell and Emmanuel Brinton. Brinton with a great run, but there's nowhere to take it, and he ends up having to move off the racing line just to keep up his momentum. Emmanuel Brinton then right on the tail of Bailey Stewart-Campbell over third position. Lead gap looks to be closing up ever so slightly, but still far from settled as Belford comes over the line to complete lap number 5. Bailey Stewart-Campbell in P3 ahead of Emmanuel Brinton. Then it's Stainer versus Finn Smart for 5th and 6th places. Less than half of the race completed, so there's still plenty of time for position changes. Further back down the order, Jaden Toomer making up a place on Elliot Crosby on lap 5, so that's through for 9th place. Crosby relegated to 10th, and outside of the top 10, Sean Abel is right with those two as well. He sits in 11th position. Emmanuel Brinton putting in a good race here, but not quite able to get the better of Bailey Stewart-Campbell, who occupies third. Casey O'Gorman spending the last couple of laps looking over